Sentinels just won Masters Madrid in dramatic fashion against the surprising Korean team, Gen G, to win their second Masters trophy after over 1,000 days from Masters Reykjavik. And the road for this org and their lone original member, Tenz, has been a rough one. So what changed from the last 2 years of failure that caused their insane rise to the top so quickly? Well, there were a number of changes to perfectly line up for Sentinel's trophy run. But one change that can help you easily turn your Valorant gameplay into viral clips is with FrameDrop.ai. Whether it's podcasts, interviews, or my favorite, gaming content, FrameDrop easily takes the footage you have and turns it into viral clips that you can upload on YouTube, Twitch, or even TikTok. And with the new AI enhancements, FrameDrop has just gotten better, with clear AI-generated subtitles in over 25 languages, as well as detecting your best highlights to share with the world, with minimum work on your part. So check them out in the description. Thanks FrameDrop.ai. Before we get into the current changes that allowed Sentinels to win it all, we have to look back at how Sentinels were built to win championships early on with Tenz during Masters Reykjavik, to see how they were able to repeat it with an entirely different roster. 2021 Valorant was a much different time, with the meta completely focused on the duelists, requiring teams to not only have one cracked duelist, but at least two. And for this first Masters winning roster, they had 3 players that could frag at an incredibly high level, with Tenz primarily fragging on Reyna or Jett on some maps, while their IGL Shazam picked up Jett when Tenz wasn't playing it. And of course, Sick played a world-class Phoenix and Raze to give the Sentinels the 3-headed dragon they needed to wipe the floor with the other best teams in the world, as they could flex onto so many different comps, as Zoms was able to handle the smoke scroll all by himself, as while he wasn't the best player on the server, he was able to work in support of his superstar duelists to help them isolate fights when they could, as well as Dapper being the loudmouth sentinel of the team, picking up clutches and utilizing his great game sense to time flanks when other teams were just too busy trying to stop the more explosive players. Ultimately, this team fit perfectly into the meta at the time, way quicker and more powerful than any other team, and no one could keep up, as they put on some of the greatest individual and group performances in the first international event in Valorant. But of course we know what happened after this. The meta left them behind as they became less and less reliant on just a group of the best aimers taking and winning duels every round, and they couldn't keep up with the different changes that got rid of some of their favorite characters like Phoenix, Reyna, and Astra. One of the main reasons seemed to be their lack of central leadership that could consistently adapt and develop new plans with the new agents and patches, resulting in a 2022 that saw their best finish being a top 8 in a regional challengers event, a massive downfall for once kings of pro Valorant after just 1 year. And by the end of the season, they're trying all sorts of things, such as ex-CSGO stream god Shroud joining the team for the last chance qualifiers. But quickly before the first franchise season, they, for the first time since Tenz joined the team, wiping the slate clean, releasing Dapper and Shazam, and keeping Sick on inactive while he deals with personal matters. And earlier in 2022, they had dropped Zoms to bring in Zellsis for his first stint on the team, which he would later leave to make room for the core that Sentinels wanted to have around Tenz to recapture glory. They brought in 2 reigning world champions in Sacy and Pinkata, as well as Xset's IGL Def, along with the young prodigy Zekken. This ended up being a very turbulent season for Sentinels, since there were a lot of leadership turnover with Def and their first head coach Psycho being cut early in the regular season. It did bring in 2 important pieces Tenz needed to return Sentinels to their former glory, in Zekken and Sacy, as they both were highly talented like his previous world-class teammates, but were both way more flexible and able to adapt on the fly. And while they were unable to put it together in 2023, it was clear that Sentinels were getting there, with the talent starting to rise closer and closer to the top. But the beginning of their eventual run happened during this last offseason, as it was announced that they'd bring in the IGL of the Ascension runners-up, johnqt, to hopefully provide the leadership the team needed, as well as bring in Zellsis in for a second stint with the team, but this time as a 6th man as he was focusing on content. But we know how that goes.
No,
He got 2.
Oh! Go! That's what he said!
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
This man Kata was a menace, bro.
Sentinels are back on the menu.
Oh, so good. and so many good things to talk about.
With such a successful offseason, it looked like Tenz was back with his new team, with Zellsis being an outstanding sub for Pancata, resulting in him staying in the starting roster, while johnqt already looked like a great leader that meshed well with everyone else. Everyone was firing on all cylinders for them, but we had seen some great starts for new rosters quickly sour once the real game started, and for Sentinels during the kickoff tournament to qualify for Masters Madrid, it started to look like that might also happen to them, as they barely made it to the brutal play-ins just to get the final spot in playoffs. But this is where you could see the run truly starting for them, as it was clear that some serious changes had occurred for this team as they started to win against everyone and anyone they faced. They went on to destroy MIBR with Zekken top fragging in both maps, which we can see in round 6 on Split, where we can see how each member of the team sets up their best players to get the kills and trades. I've already made a video all about how Sentinels play Split, which you can check out after this video, but it's true that Split was a huge reason why they were able to go on the run they did, being the map they played 12 out of the 13 matches this season so far, only truly losing 3 times. And this round shows another reason why, is even though they have the eco lead, MIBR have the ult lead, and a pretty good call to hit A, where johnqt is holding far back. They decided to move fast to hopefully catch Sentinels off guard and get a kill with the lower buy of stingers, but of course, since Sentinels so consistently play back on A's site, MIBR can't get through the choke point. While this gives up A's site, Sentinels are just so comfortable to just wait for the plant and coordinate with waves and waves of util until they can just take aim duels, which Sentinels always thrives in. It combos the strengths of the old 2021 Sentinels team, who always won straight aim duels, and combined the strategic leadership of johnqt and head coach Kaplan to fit perfectly into the modern game, where set plays and util combos are a must. Right when MIBR started to get set up on A with the Viper's Pit and Astro Wall, Sentinels are explosive with their retake, with Zekken being the tip of the spear with the showstopper, getting a second and third kill as he doesn't let up, winning the round before MIBR can even think. This is a new strength for Sentinels: tempo. They know when to slow down to work together and when they need to hit the throttle so that other teams can't become too comfortable and well set up. And with plays like this, they went on to dominate MIBR on this map as well as Ascent to win the match 2-0, putting them in the driver's seat to make it to playoffs. They went on to qualify by taking the first map of the G2 game to clutch the play-ins. But this is where they started to play the best of the best, with them facing NRG in a position where if they win, they qualify for the first international event since 2021, where if they lose, they're completely eliminated, no second chance. And after a back and forth first 2 maps where Tenz rolled back the years to win their map pick in overtime with 30 kills, it all came down to map 3 on Split yet again. And this is where their 2 newest additions showed why this team works perfectly together. In the first half, Sentinels went 11-1 with 7 defuses, showing just how powerful their retakes are, as johnqt consistently found the gap in the post plant to pick up multiple kills and 2 1v1 clutches, while Zellsis was the perfect site anchor, picking up 4 first kills on site as Viper. Overall, when this team is on fire, it's hard to beat them even for a team like NRG, who are supposed to be the team that came out red hot rather than Sen. And with that, they went off to their first international event in over 1,000 days. And with this team full of interesting storylines like Tenz finally reaching to the top of the esport again, Zekken finally being able to prove he's the best in the world, Sacy showing they can win outside of his time with Loud, johnqt showing that he's more than a rookie IGL, oh, and also Zellsis is more than just a hype man. And that's exactly what they did when they stepped foot on that stage. And to see how they went an incredible 5-1 against the best teams in the world to lift the trophy, I found 3 rounds through the run that perfectly encapsulate how they worked together to build win streaks that took down Loud, Team Heretics, Carmine Corp, Paper X, and ultimately Gen G, who I definitely will make a video on very soon since I love that team. So let's start with their pistol rounds, where they won 56% of them outside of their match against Gen G in the upper finals, which just wasn't a good map for them. But I will look at a pistol round from their rematch against Gen G, where they actually changed it from an 0-6 in the pistols to 6-10, which was the difference maker sometimes for them. This is the last pistol round of the tournament, with both teams really wanting this, as Sentinels could push the lead and pressure further on this young Korean team, while a win for Gen G would ultimately guarantee a tie going into the final rounds of the grand finals. So how does Sentinels mix up their attacking pistol on Icebox, a map known to be stale? Sentinels are ready with a pretty default setup, with a little more presence towards A, while Gen G are ready for a hard fight in mid that never truly comes. as they exchange gunfire for a second, with Karen taking the brunt of it, but ultimately keeps Gen.G guessing while Sentinels gets ready for an A hit as they group up. And even though Gen.G gets an early hint that Sentinel will be committing to the site thanks to the turret setup, they weren't able to get the first kill because of how much space Zekken grabbed before Gen.G could react. Texture is able to get 2 before getting traded out, keeping his team in the game, but no player on Sentinels overextends, as they know they still don't have full access of sight. So they pull back as the Viper wall falls, so they can allow Gen.G to make mistakes by over-peeking, resulting in Meteor being eliminated to give them the player advantage before they decide to push back to the site together. And with that advantage, they win the round and plant the spike to take a great 8-5 lead that results in a map, game, and tournament victory for Sentinels. And it's really thanks to how disciplined they are in moments like this, where they don't have control, so they work together to overwhelm anyone that tries to take 1v1 duels. Next, I want to look at 2 consecutive rifle rounds to show how and why Sentinels were able to adapt so quickly and change the outcomes of rounds, no matter how many different game plans that were thrown at them. We're going to go into round 9 and 10 of Sunset against Paper Rex, where I feel they truly put this chaotic Pacific team to bed. The first round we'll look at is a quick one, as Zekken is able to push quickly with johnqt down mid tiles to counter Paper Rex's tendency to leave this space open early, netting Zekken 2 kills, forcing Mindfreak to try a hero peek that doesn't work out. And with all the tempo and information on their side, Tenz uses his blind to put the last of Paper Rex in a bad position, where they aren't able to survive this full buy. So how does Sentinels change this plan even after destroying everyone last round? Well, they instead play passive now, allowing the W Gaming team to push forward into B, where they have the 2 best agents to delay a push in Gecko and Raze, which works perfectly for them to start rotating quickly to take advantage of the slight weapon advantages. And even with a Viper's Pit to hide the attackers, this game had been dominated by blind spray recently, as Zellsis is in the perfect place to get a spray kill on Divide to eliminate the revive and Munyet, giving Sentinels a 5v3 lead with control all around the spike, while Paper Rex is forced to only retreat to B main, which Sentinels know. Mindfreak is able to make it scary for a second, but they're able to defuse and win with a whole different game plan and setup. They were able to adapt and change continuously, even against teams as unpredictable as Paper Rex, as no one could stump this team, as every member is able to work and play off each other in mid-round to perfection, which ultimately led to so many dominant map victories. So with all this ability throughout their team to win all sorts of different rounds, they were able to win their 2nd Masters trophy since the start of Pro Valorant. This might not even be their only one this season, as they're definitely favorites going into Split 1 and Masters Shanghai, as well as champions, which they pretty much have clinched a spot in with how big of a circuit point lead they have after winning America's Kickoff and Madrid. So how do I think they will do going into the rest of the season? Well, I definitely think they'll be a top 3 team throughout, but I believe teams like Loud, NRG, and even 100 Thieves will just get better and better throughout this season. So I do think they will place far in future major events, but I think this will be their only trophy this VCT season. But Tenz and the rest of Sentinels have already majorly surprised me so far, so we'll all just see together. So make sure you subscribe, and thanks FrameDrop.ai for sponsoring the video. Make sure to check them out in my description.